Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something that really seems to hit home for a lot of advanced English learners. It's about understanding spoken English, like really understanding it. You may have solid grammar, great vocab, but then
you step into the real world, right? Fast conversations, accents you've maybe never heard before, idioms. It's a whole different ballgame.
Exactly. Does that sound familiar? I bet it does for many listening.
It's a huge jump. You go from let's say, the controlled environment of a textbook or app to this messy, unpredictable flow of actual human speech. It's like knowing musical scales versus improvising jazz.
That's a great analogy. And for this deep dive, we've gathered insights from all over. We've got tips from experienced English coaches, some linguistic perspectives on how our brains process this stuff.
And crucially, we've got stories from other C1 learners, people who've been right there in the thick of it, feeling that frustration, and importantly, finding ways to push through.
Yeah, so our mission today isn't just to talk about the problems.
No, definitely not.
We want to give you a real, actionable game plan, some concrete techniques so you can walk away feeling more equipped, more confident about understanding spoken English, no matter if it's fast, accented, or full of tricky phrases.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start by mapping out these listening friction points. What are the specific things that make even C1 learners pause and think, hang on, what was that?
Well, speed is probably the most obvious one, right? Especially in informal settings, casual chats, podcasts. People aren't always speaking super clearly or slowly. You might hit like 180 words per minute.
Whoa. Yeah, that's fast. It feels like your brain just can't keep up sometimes.
It really does. And then layered on top of that, you have accents. The sheer variety.
Oh, yeah. You might feel comfortable with, say, standard American or British RP, but then suddenly you encounter a thick Scottish brogue or maybe a southern U.S. drawl.
And it can feel like learning a whole new code almost. It's not just different sounds for words, but different tunes, different rhythms.
That's a good point. The melody of the language changes.
Totally. Think how many ways hello can sound. Your ear needs that broad exposure.
And it's not just regional accents, is it? It's also how native speakers often kind of squish words together in fast speech, those reduced forms.
Like gotta for going to, wanna for want to, shoulda for should've. They're absolutely everywhere.
If you're listening for the full forms, you'll just miss them.
You will. And related to that is elision, where sounds just disappear, blend into each other. Next door might sound like next door.
Right. Makes things even more slippery.
It's like the sonic glue holding fast speech together.
Okay, and then there's the environment itself. We're rarely listening in perfect silence, are we?
Almost never. Cafes, trains, busy streets. There's always background noise competing for your attention.
Which is so different from the crystal clear audio we often get in learning materials.
Exactly. Real life has a whole soundtrack you have to filter out. Your brain needs to be a pretty good sound engineer.
And one more big one, those cultural bits and pieces, the idioms.
Yes. Hit the ground running. Kick the bucket.
Break a leg. If you haven't encountered them before, they can just stop you in your tracks. Complete non sequiturs.
And the insight there is, it's often not just about the words. It's the cultural context wrapped around them. You need more than just the dictionary definition sometimes.
Okay, so that's quite a list. Speed, accents, reduced forms, noise, idioms. Maybe take a quick second now, everyone listening, and think, which one or two of those really feel like your biggest challenge? Just pinpoint them in your mind.
Identifying them is really that crucial first step.
So why? Why do these specific things cause such difficulty, even when your English level is generally high?
Well, fundamentally, it often comes down to cognitive load. Think about it. Your brain has likely been trained on clearer, maybe slightly slower, more predictable language input during your learning journey.
Right, the textbook English.
Exactly. Then suddenly it's hit with this barrage of fast, natural speech, maybe with an unfamiliar accent, full of those reduced forms, maybe some background noise. It's just too much information hitting the processor at once.
Overload, like trying to download a massive file over really slow internet.
Precisely. Things get missed, connections break down, and that leads directly to not catching words, misunderstanding the meaning, and crucially, that dip in your confidence. You start doubting your ability.
Yeah, that confidence hit is a big one.
So the central question we really want to explore today is, how can you, as an advanced learner, actively work to lower that cognitive load when you're listening to English out there in the wild? How do you make that download smoother?
Okay. But before we jump into the how, let's just acknowledge that this struggle is super common. It helps to know you're not alone, right?
Absolutely. We heard from Maria. She's from Spain. She talked about job interviews, how the speed just overwhelmed her. She found herself constantly pausing the recordings she practiced with, rewinding, and it just broke the flow. It actually ended up making her feel less motivated.
That makes sense. That constant pausing, while it feels like you're catching everything, might actually be counterproductive in the long run?
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
It becomes a crutch. You get the immediate meaning, perhaps, but you don't train your brain to handle the continuous stream, the natural rhythm of speech.
Interesting. And then there was Ahmed from Egypt. He described group discussions, where topics change fast, lots of people talking.
Ah, yes, the spaghetti brain analogy.
Yeah. He said his brain felt like spaghetti, just tangled, impossible to follow one thread.
That's such a perfect description. It really captures that feeling of your working memory just being completely maxed out. Yeah. Multiple speakers, rapid shifts. It's a serious mental juggle.
So, lessons from Maria and Ahmed. Maybe relying too heavily on pausing isn't always the best strategy, and those multi-speaker situations are particularly tough on our brains.
Exactly, and this leads to a really key idea in language learning, especially at this level. It's about bridging the gap.
The gap between
the controlled learning world and the chaos of authentic speech. Someone quite smart in language acquisition once said something like, C1 learners need challenging input, sure, but they need to build a bridge to it first.
Build a bridge.
Through preparation. Pre-listening work. That's what scaffolded listening is all about. You don't just dive into the deep end unprepared.
Okay, scaffolding, like giving yourself some support before you tackle the main task. Maybe knowing the topic, keywords, setting goals.
Yes. Setting goals is huge here, and specifically making them SMART goals.
Ah, SMART. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Exactly. It takes that vague idea, I want to get better at listening, and makes it concrete, actionable, trackable.
So give us an example. What would a SMART listening goal look like?
Okay, how about this? By the end of 4 weeks, that's your time-bound, I will understand 80%, measurable of a 3-minute TED Talk, specific input on a familiar topic, achievable context without using subtitles, specific condition, and relevant to the overall goal.
Nice. That feels much more manageable than just get better. You know what you're aiming for and how you'll know if you've hit it.
Precisely. It breaks the challenge down. It gives you focus.
All right, so everyone listening, think back to those couple of barriers you identified earlier. Speed, accents, whatever they were. Try formulating one SMART goal for yourself right now, just a quick one. What could you realistically aim for in the next month? Tailor it to your needs.
Having that personal goal is really motivating. Okay, so you've identified your barriers. You've hopefully set a SMART goal. Now what?
Now for the roadmap. We've got a 6-step plan here. Practical steps you can take to overcome those barriers and actually reach that goal.
Step 1, pre-listening preparation.
The scaffolding we talked about.
Exactly. Before you hit play on that audio clip, maybe keep it short to start. 1 to 3 minutes, familiar topic. Do a little prep. If there's a transcript or summary, glance at it. Underline words or phrases that look tricky.
So you're priming your brain.
You are. You're activating what you already know about the topic, flagging potential difficulties. It just lowers the shock factor when you actually listen. Makes it less overwhelming.
Okay, what else in prep?
Try to predict the content. Based on the title, the keywords you saw, what do you think they're going to talk about?
Right.
This gets you actively engaged from the start.
Right. Step 2.
Step 2, intentive listening practice. Now you listen to that same short clip multiple times. Try it at normal speed if you can, maybe slightly slower if absolutely necessary. Focus on getting the main idea, the overall gist.
And the temptation to pause constantly, fight it.
Try to, yes. Listen through once or twice fully. Then maybe pause just 2 or 3 times maximum per listen through, specifically to check words that are really blocking your understanding of the main points, not every single unknown word.
Okay.
And a really powerful technique here, though it takes effort, is dictation.
Writing down exactly what you hear.
Word for word. It forces intense concentration on sounds, words, connections. Then compare what you wrote to the actual transcript. You'll be amazed at the gaps it reveals.
I can imagine. Okay, step 3.
Extensive listening exposure. This is different. It's about quantity and regularity, less about intense focus. Aim for maybe 30 to 60 minutes a day.
Doing what kind of listening?
Passive listening, mostly. While you're commuting, doing housework, exercising, put on podcasts, news, audio peaks, dramas. The key is variety.
And the goal isn't 100% comprehension here.
No, not at all. It's about immersion. Getting your ear tuned to the natural rhythms, the flow, different voices, different speeds, letting your brain soak it all up subconsciously.
Okay, makes sense. Step 4.
Shadowing and imitation. This one's great because it connects listening and speaking.
How does it work?
You listen to a short phrase or sentence, pause the audio, and immediately repeat it aloud. But you're not just saying the words, you're trying to mimic the speaker's intonation, their rhythm, where they put the stress.
So copying the music of the language?
Exactly. It trains your mouth, yes, but it also trains your ear to notice those subtle but crucial features when you're just listening.
Cool.
Step 5.
Focused accent and reduction training. This is where you deliberately target those tricky areas. Different accents and those reduced forms like gonna.
How do you train for that?
There are specific resources apps, YouTube channels that highlight connecting sounds, drop sounds. Practice minimal pairs too, words that differ by only one sound, like ship and sheep, or very and berry. It sharpens your sound distinction.
And for accents.
Make a conscious effort. Aim to listen to, say, at least 3 different English accents each week. Use things like TED Talks, global news sites. They offer huge variety. Maybe start with one new accent at a time and use a transcript initially to help you map the sounds to the words.
Got it. And the final step.
Step 6.
Reflection and error analysis. This is crucial, but often skipped. After a listening practice session, take a few minutes to process. What did you understand easily? Where did you struggle? Try summarizing the audio out loud, maybe even record yourself doing it.
And then compare.
Compare your summary to the original content. Did you get the key points? And think about why you missed things. Are there patterns? Do you always mishear V and B? Do you miss weak forms?
And track this somehow.
Yes. Keep a listening journal. Log what you practiced, how long, what challenges you faced, what strategies you tried, how you felt about it. This data becomes invaluable for guiding your future practice.
Wow, that's comprehensive. So pre-listen. Listen intensively with dictation. Listen extensively. Shadow. Focus on accents reductions and reflect.
That's the core loop. And the idea is consistency. Try to implement this plan for maybe 4-6 weeks. Use your journal to see what's working and adjust. Maybe you need more accent work, maybe more vocabulary focus through intensive listening. Tailor it.
Okay, this plan feels solid. But there's the mental side too, isn't there? Especially for C1 learners who might feel they should be perfect by now.
Oh, absolutely. Mindset is huge. That pressure can be paralyzing. It's vital to remember that C1 doesn't mean finished. You're still learning, still refining.
So how do we deal with the frustration when we still don't understand something? That feeling of, ugh, I should have gotten that.
Try reframing errors. They aren't failures. Seriously. Think of them as data points. Information. Each time you misunderstand something, it's telling you something specific about where your current gaps are.
Data points, not failures. I like that.
It shifts the focus from judgment to curiosity. Okay, I missed that connection between words. Why? How can I listen for it next time?
And maybe shift focus from the big, distant outcome, perfect fluency, to the process itself.
Exactly. Celebrate the effort. I dedicated 30 minutes to focused listening today. I tried shadowing even though it felt weird. Acknowledge the actions you're taking.
This sounds like cultivating a growth mindset.
It is. Believing that your listening skills can improve with strategic effort rather than thinking they're fixed. That belief makes you more resilient when you hit inevitable difficulties.
Any practical tips for maintaining that positive mindset?
Positive self-talk helps. Catch yourself being overly critical and consciously replace it with something more constructive. This is challenging, but I'm learning. Also, plan small rewards. Stuck with your listening plan for a week, reached a mini goal. Treat yourself. It reinforces the habit.
And community. Does talking to others help?
Immensely. Joining a listening club, finding a language exchange partner, it provides support, shared experience, plus explaining strategies or what you learned to someone else actually solidifies your own understanding.
Teaching is learning.
It really is. And one more thing, keep varying your materials. Listening to the same type of thing all the time can get boring. Mix up topics, formats, speakers. It keeps your brain engaged and exposes you to different styles of English.
So ultimately, seeing that struggle not as a stop sign, but as what? A sign of effort?
A sign of progress. If it's challenging, it often means you're pushing your boundaries, operating at the edge of your current ability. And that's exactly where learning happens. Embracing that discomfort is key.
Okay, fantastic advice. Now let's bring in another perspective. We talked to an applied linguist who specializes in, well, how we learn to listen.
Right. And one thing that came up is what distinguishes really successful C1 listeners. It's not just passive exposure.
It's active engagement.
Exactly. They're constantly interacting mentally with the audio, predicting what's coming next, guessing meanings from context, noticing patterns, checking if their understanding makes sense.
So it's a very dynamic process happening inside their heads.
Very. And it doesn't stop when the audio stops. They reflect afterwards. What I get, what did I miss, why? And crucially, they link listening to other skills.
Like speaking and writing? How does that work?
Okay, here's an example of an integrated activity. You do some intensive listening on a podcast segment, maybe some dictation. Then you write a short summary, consciously trying to use some of the new vocabulary or phrasing you picked up.
Mm-hmm.
Then you record yourself reading or explaining that summary. And then you compare your recording, your pronunciation, fluency, intonation to the original podcast audio.
Wow, okay. That connects listening, vocabulary, writing, speaking, and pronunciation analysis all in one task.
It really reinforces the learning from multiple angles. Another technique building on shadowing is graded shadowing.
Graded how?
You start by shadowing audio that's been slowed down a bit. Most players have speed controls. Get comfortable matching the rhythm and sounds at, say, 0.8x speed. Then gradually increase it back towards 1.0x speed. It eases you into the natural pace.
That sounds less intimidating than jumping straight into full-speed shadowing.
It can be. And again, that point about accent diversity came up strongly.
How important is it?
For true, real-world comprehension, it's absolutely essential. English varies so much globally. If you only train your ear on one or two standard accents, you'll constantly be caught off guard. The recommendation was clear. Aim for deliberate exposure to at least 3 different accents every week.
3 a week? That sounds like a lot. Won't people get confused mixing them up?
That's a valid concern. The advice is to maybe focus on one new accent at a time, alongside accents you're already familiar with. Use transcripts when you first encounter it, watch videos if possible, pay attention to mouth shapes. Your brain will start to adapt and differentiate the patterns over time.
So it's not about instantly mastering each one, but gradually building up your brain's database of sound patterns.
Precisely. It's about increasing your overall adaptability as a listener. Consistent, varied exposure is the name of the game.
All right, this is all great theory and strategy. Let's make it super concrete now. What are some specific practice activities people can start doing, like today?
Okay, let's get hands-on. These activities target those key skills we've been discussing.
Activity number 1.
The podcast dictation challenge. Pick a short clip, maybe 2 minutes, from a TED Talk on a topic you find interesting. First, listen without the transcript. Just try to jot down key phrases or sentences, whatever you can catch. Don't stress about perfection.
Okay.
Then listen again, this time with the transcript in front of you. Read along. See where the gaps were in what you initially wrote down. Highlight words or expressions that are new or that you misheard. It's a fantastic diagnostic.
Sharpens that word recognition. Okay, next.
Accent marathon. A little bit every day. Find a source of short news clips from different English-speaking countries. BBC, ABC Australia, CBC Canada, NPR in the US, maybe something from India or South Africa. Listen to just 5 minutes from a different source each day.
And the focus here.
Just notice the differences. What sounds unique? What's the overall rhythm like? No need to understand everything. Just expose your ear consistently to that variety.
Builds that adaptability we talked about. Activity 3.
Shadow and record. This uses that shadowing technique. Find a short dialogue, maybe from a sitcom you like. Friends is classic for conversational practice. Listen to one character's line, pause, and immediately shadow it, trying to match their intonation and energy. Record yourself doing it.
And the record part is key. Why?
Because then you compare. Listen to the original line, then listen to your recording. Where are the differences? If you're tech savvy, you can even use a free tool like Audacity to look at the sound waves. See the difference in stress patterns visually.
Oh, that's clever. Visual feedback. Okay, one more activity.
Thematic discussion club. This taps into the community aspect. Find a small group of fellow learners, maybe online. Pick a theme for the week, say climate change or artificial intelligence. Everyone listens to the same podcast or watches the same video on that theme beforehand. Then you meet up, virtually or in person, and discuss it for maybe 20 minutes. The goal is active communication. Practice understanding others, formulating your own thoughts, taking notes, maybe summarizing points. It makes listening purposeful.
Love that. It combines everything. Now, resources to find this stuff?
Yep, we got a few recommendations. For news audio that's graded by level, check out Newsela. It's really good for finding content at the right challenge level. For sheer accent variety, ELO, that's ELLO.org, is amazing. Hundreds of speakers from all over the world in short interviews.
Perfect for the accent marathon.
Definitely. For something fun and musical, lyrics training uses music videos. You'll listen and fill in missing lyrics, great for catching words in a different context.
Addictive, probably.
Can be. For shadowing practice, the language shadowing channel on YouTube has lots of dedicated material.
Great.
And don't forget vocabulary reinforcement. Apps like Memrise or Anki are brilliant for drilling new words and phrases, especially if you can find decks that include audio and example sentences.
So how to fit this all in? It sounds like a lot.
It's about balance and consistency, not doing everything every day. Maybe block out time, 3 days a week for 30 minutes of intensive practice, dictation, accent focus. Then maybe 4 or 5 days for that 30-60 minutes of extensive, more relaxed listening. Sprinkle in some shadowing when you can, and try to schedule that discussion group once a week.
A structured approach.
It helps build the habit and ensures you're covering the different types of practice needed.
Okay, to really drive this home, let's end with a couple of quick success stories. Real people, real results.
Yeah, absolutely. There's Victor. He's a software engineer based in Germany.
Yep.
He was really struggling to follow those super fast-paced tech podcasts and webinars in English.
A common problem in tech.
Totally. So he committed to that 6-step roadmap we outlined, put a particular focus on step 5, the accent diversity training, listened to a ton of different speakers.
And the result?
Within about 8 weeks, he said his comprehension of those tricky podcasts jumped from maybe 50% to around 90%. He felt confident enough to actively participate in live Q&A sessions during webinars. Huge difference.
Wow, 8 weeks. That's impressive. Shows what focused effort can do. Another one.
Okay, Yuko, a marketing specialist in Japan. Her challenge was large group webinars, feeling intimidated, losing the thread of discussions and debates.
Right, the spaghetti brain situation.
Exactly. So she joined an online discussion club like our activity suggestion and focused on thematic listening practice. They'd all listen something on a marketing topic, then discuss it.
How did that help?
After about 6 weeks, she reported feeling much less intimidated. She could follow the back and forth of debates much better, felt comfortable asking clarifying questions, and even started leading some of the Q&A portions herself.
Fantastic. From overwhelmed to leading the conversation.
Yeah. And the common threads in both Victor's and Yuko's stories are pretty clear. Consistency, using specific strategies, reflecting on what worked, and leveraging that community support. They didn't just passively hope to improve.
They had a plan and they worked it. Okay, so let's recap the action plan for everyone listening.
Right. Number 1, pinpoint your top 1 or 2 listening barriers right now. Speed, accents, idioms.
Number 2, set yourself one smart listening goal based on those barriers. Make it concrete.
3, commit to following that 6-step roadmap pre-listening, intensive, extensive, shadowing, focus training, reflection as consistently as you can, daily or near daily effort.
4, work on that mindset. See errors as data, celebrate your effort, stay positive, and connect with other learners if you can.
And 5, use a variety of resources to keep things fresh and track your progress in that listening journal. See what's working.
So your very first step, maybe right after listening to this, choose a short audio clip, news, podcast, anything. Do the pre-listening prep, listen, and then make your very first entry in your new listening journal.
Maybe even share your SMART goal somewhere. Tell a friend, post it in a learner group. That accountability helps.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for breaking all this down. It feels much less daunting now.
My pleasure. The key takeaway is that these barriers are surmountable. With the right strategies and consistent effort, you really can achieve that comfortable, confident listening comprehension you're aiming for. It's a vital step towards true fluency.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you feel inspired and equipped. Join us next time when we'll be diving deep into the world of mastering academic writing in English. Until then, keep listening.